All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. We are going to be breaking down the top pool picks for the Open Championship. In order to do that, we are going to be going through each tier and telling you guys which players are going to be the top picks out of each tier. And then at the end of the video, we'll go ahead and summarize those thoughts. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, before we get into it, I do want to talk about the weather real quick. So as it currently sits, it does seem like there could be a slight AM and PM advantage. So the golfers that have an AM tee time on Thursday and then obviously the PM tee time on Friday could have a slight advantage. And that's because the weather on Thursday evening for the PM golfers then is a little bit more windy, about 5 mile per hour more. Then the next morning, that wind actually carries over a little bit more. So they're probably looking at about 5 more mile per hour of wind for their rounds rather than the golfers that have the AM PM split. So that's not something that, as I'm recording this video, we know with the tee times, that is something to potentially keep in mind as you are making your pool picks. Maybe if you are someone that does 2 pool picks, you do one where it's just picking all the best golfers, and then you do another one where it is favoring that AM PM advantage. Now, there's a lot of wind or rain in the forecast. Maybe that leads to a weather delay. I doubt that with it being the Open. But all in all, it's not significant as it's currently being reported in terms of the weather report, only slightly. It could end up being like 0.5 stroke difference, which it is pretty significant there. But all in all, throughout the weekend, the best golfers will end up still playing the best golf. So we go ahead here and get into tier number 1. Tier number 1, it is worth calling out, guys, that Scotty Scheffler is going to be the class of the field. So as most of you guys know, probably by now, what we're looking at here, we have the model ranking, which is the 9-to-5 model, which is curated data. It's all curated data that is then put into this 9-to-5 cheat sheet, which takes the predictable data points that we get each week. So like key stats, course history, in this case, it's event history. And then we look at recent form and compile that all together to create an overall model rank. Now, included in the 9-to-5 model is going to be the odds likelihood for them to win and also their cut likelihood. So what we're trying to do with the model rank is measure the safety, but also the upside of a player. Okay, that is also echoed. That's also echoed here with we got the outright odds and then the make cut percent via Vegas. And so quite clearly, Scotty Scheffler is going to be the top choice, right? Now, we could potentially maybe consider Rory, who's a little bit hit or miss. Obviously won the Grand Slam earlier this year. There are some questions about him. Jon Rahm seems to love this course. And then Xander Schauffele, last year's winner of this event, is just coming in off of a very good week last week. So I do want to take a peek at those 4 players just a little bit more. And actually, I'll just toss Tommy Fleetwood into that mix as well, just so you guys can see. But I want to talk about the salary here. So this is for like DFS purposes. DraftKings does kind of their own tiering thing each and every week for daily fantasy sports is what it's called, DFS contest, where there's a salary cap to it. Anyways, he is clearly valued much higher than every other golfer in the field. So in simple, just choose Scotty. Now, the issue with Scotty is he hasn't necessarily played all too well at the Open Championship before. So you guys, we'll take a peek at the course history. This H1 stat is course history number 1. We're actually looking at the 2019 Open Championship that took place here. I think that's the most relevant. That's why we're putting it number 1. H4 is actually last year's. Okay, so it's a little bit different. He did finish 7th at last year's Open Championship, so we're fine with that. But across the board, he is clearly just a top click. Now, we do see Rory, guys. Rory is definitely hit or miss. Okay, he has been playing better lately, and he did have a fall off after he won the Grand Slam, which you would expect. But since he's went 19th, 6th, and then 2nd last week. And I think he's going to be ready to go this week as well mentally. So you could consider him. If you're doing 2, I think that's not a bad pivot. That's a great way to gain leverage on the rest of your people in your pool because they should just be clicking on Rory. Scotty. The issue with going with Rory is that we also have Jon Rahm, who is basically a great choice as well. And if you're choosing between Rory and Rahm, then it becomes a toss-up. Like there's no real reason to choose Rory over Rahm. There's no real reason to choose Rahm over Rory. They're both basically the same choice. Now, I will say Rahm is probably going to be the lowest picked among those 3, and so that could end up being your reason to choose him. Now, I do want to call it that with Rahm, you're going to see his ST rank, which is his stat fit rank. It's 80th. That's because he's a live golfer right now. So kind of I don't keep track of live golf results because all in all, we know which live golfers to be on. It's not really good for us to look at those stats because it hasn't led to predictability in the past. And once it starts to, I'll include that in the data, but for now, it hasn't done that. But looking at it, guys, like form-wise for Rahm has been great in the tournaments that we have seen him play on. Okay, when he's playing DP Tour events, played well. Masters, he finished 14th, PGA Championship 8th, and US Open 7th. Then we get him at the Open, which is a course that he's typically played well at. So in 2019, finished 11th at this, and then he's went 2nd, 34th, and 7th. So he would actually be my second choice just because he's not going to be as rostered. I do love Xander. He has not been as dominant lately as I would love. Okay. Do expect him to play well. He does tend to play well at this event. And then Tommy Fleetwood, he is someone I could see getting to finish second at this event in 2019, but we're getting a little bit too indirect here. Okay, so in simple, go Scotty. If not, go Rahm. But like these are the top 5 players in the field. You expect them to all play well. Okay, so from there we go ahead and get into tier number 2. Tier number 2 is a little bit more difficult as well. I wouldn't say we're getting like a clear-cut option here. So to me, we got 3 though: Tyrrell Hatton, Robert McIntyre, and Patrick Cantlay. Seb Straka is someone I could think about as well, but I just don't love it as much. The 9-to-5 model likes him, but when we consider the outright odds and the make cut odds, to me it comes down to Robert McIntyre or Tyrrell Hatton. Okay, and they are the top 2 choices in this tier because they should be. All right, so we go ahead and take a peek at those 2 golfers, Tyrrell Hatton and Robert McIntyre. Robert McIntyre, to me, is more of the choice here, but it is worth calling out that they both have about the same make-cut percent. Tyrrell Hatton has a little bit more win equity. He has played a little bit better at the Open Championship in the past, and he also is someone that has played well at the past few majors as well. That being said, these golfers both played this course in 2019, both played it well with a top 10 finish. Okay, if you want to get to Tyrrell Hatton, you can. Robert McIntyre is the golfer that I like slightly more. It is close though. Okay, the biggest knock against Robert McIntyre is the fact that he finished 65th at last week's event, the Scottish Open, but he still has made 10 straight cuts now on the PGA Tour, and he had been playing well heading into that event. I kind of look at that 65th place finish, and I kind of chalk it up to him having been the defending champ at that event. And with that tends to lead to a little bit more pressure. On top of that, that's kind of like his home tournament as well. So I just think it was a little bit of added pressure onto him to the point where he just wasn't playing as well, given that. And so I can kind of write that off a little bit. And if we do that, then it becomes a little bit more appealing than Tyrrell Hatton. Again, though, if you're doing 2 pools, two selections, 2 different ones, I'm probably going Hatton in one and then Robert McIntyre in another. So now we go ahead here and get into tier number 3. Tier number 3 is another interesting one. Okay, so we got Sam Burns, Adam Scott, both players that kind of stand out. In terms of make cut percent, those are some of the 2 better options as well, but the best option would be Corey Connors, who outright wise, 22nd in terms of outright odds, top 20 in the 9-to-5 model. The issue here is there's not like a directly correct choice, but there's also really not a wrong choice in this range as well. That's part of doing this, guys, is that sometimes you are just going to get some correct choices and some wrong choices. None of these are the wrong choice. Okay, this is a little bit of being lucky and being on the correct one. Like Cameron Young has some upside. Like he ranks out kind of poorly, but he is someone that is very much hit or miss. He is someone that could be the best pick out of this range. But let's just take a peek at Corey Connors, Sam Burns, Adam Scott a little bit more. Okay, so looking at those 3, we are going to notice that Adam Scott and Corey Connors both missed the cut at this event in 2019. Again, where it was played at Royal Portrush. Don't care all too much about that. Typically speaking, in terms of course history, once you get past year 5, statistically speaking, it's not really relevant. But given the fact that it's still not too long ago, and that's the only time we have seen this course played, professionally, we are taking a peek at that. But Adam Scott's interesting, over his last 7 events, has been playing better, pretty solid form, top 20 in the field. Event history, like the fact they finished top 10 at this event last year. Stat fit wise is probably the biggest concern with him. Not a good stat fit, but he is the 7th best specialist in the field. And so overall, I think he's going to be my choice in this range. But again, I don't really think there's an incorrect choice, but it is worth calling out. Top 20 at the Scottish Open last week, top 10 or top 15 at the US Open, PGA Championship top 20. So like playing well in those bigger events and kind of similar courses to this one. Sam Burns is someone that has been playing some very good golf, 10 straight make cuts for him as well. He is someone that, got very unlucky at the US Open. He was a clear choice for us at the US Open, guys. That weather delay basically led to him not winning. I really think it seemed like all the momentum was in his favor. A terrible decision with the weather delay. Don't need to get into that again, but really annoying. We all know that he ended up having to hit basically out of a freaking puddle that cost him. Anyways, since then, 17th at the Travelers, 47th last week, still playing good enough golf. We look at the outright odds, about 1.4% for him to win, but still about a 69% chance for him to make the cut, which is very good. 11th best specialist, you would expect him to continue to play good golf. Stat fit wise, 32nd in the field, so not necessarily great there as well, but oh well. Then Corey Connors. Corey Connors is difficult because he is coming in off of a withdrawal at the US Open, and then last week finished 47th, so not exactly encouraging. Had we seen him have 2 good events in a row, we would like him a little bit more, but Vegas has actually given him the highest make cut likelihood, about 72% now, so it's interesting there with that. But all 3 of these are correct. I'm going to skew more towards Adam Scott. I wouldn't blame you if you guys go with Corey Connors or Sam Burns as well. Okay, guys, so tier 4 for me, we actually are getting a similarly correct choice, and that's actually going to be Harry Hall. Now, in terms of his make cut likelihood, we're going to see 64%, which isn't the best in this range. It's actually Aaron Rai. Worth calling that out, but outright odds 33rd, most likely to win, only second behind Keegan Bradley and also Aaron Rai. So, Vegas likes Aaron Rai a little bit more. If you wanted to get to Aaron Rai, I think that could be a second choice, but to me, Harry Hall is the clear-cut choice here. So let's start with what's bad about Harry Hall first. Okay, first is that he doesn't have any event history here at the Open Championship. Would love to see that we don't have that, okay? And really for majors, haven't really seen him as well. PGA Championship, though, top 20. So good stuff there, at least. And he's carried that over that form since the PGA Championship with the 6th, 24th, 9th, 13th, 17th. Guys, he is in the 3rd best form in the field, just playing great golf. Now, another concern for me would be the fact that he is playing this good at golf to the point where if he has a good week this week, heck, even if he makes the cut this week, I think he's a lock to make the Ryder Cup. Is that extra added pressure onto him? That would be my concern. Okay, that's about it. Because on paper, he's playing great golf. 7th best staff in the field, 3rd best form, 44th best specialist, which is taking in all the unique characteristics for that tournament, that course, and putting into a data point. And what we're going to notice here is that he does maybe struggle with the green speeds a little bit, the greens a little bit, but overall, 44th in the field, still not bad. So he is someone I think we could be looking at there as well, just given how good a golf he has been playing. And that to me is one of those selections which is just the correct choice on paper. If it does not work out, I'm kind of okay with that. We know we're making the correct choice. If the golfer doesn't show up, that's obviously part of the risk to all of this. Okay, so from there, we are getting into tier number 5, another kind of more interesting tier, but to me, I do think there is another kind of clear-cut choice here. Now, Maverick McNeely does have the highest make cut likelihood, worth calling that out. Okay, like I don't need to get to him, but Taylor Pendrith is to me the one that I like the most. So 40th in terms of odds ranked to win this week. We do see Maverick McNeely a little bit higher there as well. To me, that's shocking. I don't see that. The 9-to-5 model likes Taylor Pendrith much more as well. So we go ahead here and take a peek at Taylor Pendrith, guys. So Taylor Pendrith has made 7 straight cuts now on the PGA Tour. Overall, he's going to be in the 18th best form in the field. So we like that there with him. We see his make cut likelihood about 65% per Vegas odds. They're not giving him a high likelihood to win, about 1%, and about a 22% likelihood to have a top 20 finish. Still not terrible. He's the 27th best specialist in the field. We haven't seen him play in an Open Championship before, but we did see him play last week at the Scottish Open, where he was able to finish top 20. So he played well at the PGA Championship, played well at the US Open. Overall, in this tier, to find this good of a play is just one of those options that I just want to be clicking on there as well. Again, if you're doing 2, maybe go McNeely, but to me, at least in these last 2 tiers, we are getting 2 players that are clearly a little bit undervalued in that tier. And then from there, we need to go ahead and get into tier 6. So typically speaking, in tier 6, we do get like one clear-cut option for a golfer that's playing like good golf right now that we can go to. And we're getting that with a few golfers. So Max Gracerman's an interesting click. We see Ricky Fowler's going to be an interesting click. Marco Pang, who has a 60% likelihood per Vegas odds. He's interesting, has the 39th best odds to win. The 9-to-5 data doesn't necessarily love him too much, but he is playing some pretty good golf recently. I could see him. We go lower on here, guys. Lucas Herbert's interesting. Thomas Dietrich's interesting. We have a bunch of golfers that have like a 58% likelihood to make the cut. And let's actually just sort this range by the make cut likelihood. Okay, and that becomes a little bit more interesting. So we got Pang there, we got Novak, Gracerman, Kevin Yu, Michael Kim, Ricky Fowler. So a lot just interesting names here. Okay, so just looking at guys, so Marco is gaining a lot of love, I think, this week just due to his form on the DP Tour, where he has been playing a lot of great golf. Okay, he finished 2nd at the Scottish Open last week, 11th, 24th, 26th, 28th at the PGA Championship as well. Recently won, like he is playing good golf. Don't get me wrong there. Stat fit wise, again, with it being the DP Tour, not as like relevant as like PGA Tour stats, but recent form, top 10 in the field. So that does make sense. Again, highest likely to make the cut out of this group. I don't mind that, but I do want to toss in another golfer here that if we are just playing a golfer due to his recent form. There's also one other golfer that we should be considering then as well. The issue is, I think this is his first major. Okay, that's going to be Christopher Rayatan. Okay, where he's just been playing great golf without an adjustment for DP Tour starts, where you would adjust it like 11%, like worse per start. So you take whatever number this is and make it about 11% worse. Without doing that, he's 4th in the field in recent form rank. Okay, so if you were to adjust, it would probably still be about top 20. Same thing when they were paying. But like, that's where I'm like, well, why would we do one golfer when we can get another golfer that's better for the same logic? And he still has a 54% chance to make the cut as well. So an interesting clip there as well. But I don't know. I personally am probably, I would like to go with Max Graceman, but he's coming in off of a missed cut. Thomas Dietrich is interesting as well. Andrew Novak is another interesting click here as well. We'll take a peek at him. Okay, played at the Scottish Open last week, finished top 20. US Open made the cut. PGA Championship struggled. So overall, playing good enough golf, across the board. Good, but not great. And then lastly, Kevin Yu. Kevin Yu is someone that recently had a withdrawal. We didn't know exactly how he would be playing after that withdrawal, but played well at the John Deere Classic, finishing 21st. And then last week, guys, made cut. And so he is a golfer that does hit the golf ball extremely well, but this whole range honestly feels like a toss-up. This is a spot where I think once the tee times come out, go with the best golfer that has the AM tee time. I think it's as simple as that. Okay, but one other golfer I want to call Ricky Fowler as well. So Ricky played this course in 2019, finished top 10 in 2019. Recent form has been good enough. Like, I don't hate it, but also don't love it. Is the best way to summarize it. I do think he will make the cut, about a 60% chance to make the cut. But again, this is a big toss-up. Okay, guys, so let's just go ahead and get into the tier picks here. Okay, so Scotty Scheffler is the clear-cut choice there in tier number 1. I'm actually going to take Xander off of this, even though I do like him. We're going to take him off of that. I think you're going with Rory or Rahm. And again, I think we probably would just want to go with Rahm just because I think more people are going to be on Rory, and that feels like much of a toss-up. From there, we get into tier number 2. To me, it is Terrell Hatton as the top choice. Then after that, Robert McIntyre. If you want to go Substraki, maybe. If you want to go Patrick Cantlay, I won't blame you there as well, but those two are the safest. Now, from there, we get into tier number 3, where it does, to me, seem to be a toss-up between Corey Connors or Sam Burns, but also Adam Scott. I prefer Adam Scott actually a little bit more, but I really wouldn't blame you if you go Corey Connors or Sam Burns. It's a toss-up. We'll go Scott there, but wouldn't blame me for the other 3. Now, after that, we are getting some clear-cut options. Harry Hall, to me, is a clear-cut option, and then Taylor Pendrith. Taylor Pendrith isn't as big of a separation to me as Harry Hall is. Now, some people are going to like Keegan Bradley. Some people are going to like Harris English. I'm going to go with Harry Hall. Taylor Pendrith as well, a little bit more upside. And then we go ahead and get into tier number 6. That's where it gets difficult. We got Ricky Fowler, Max Graceman, and Marco Pang. I'm actually going to take off Max Graceman, and then we're just looking at Ricky Fowler or Pang. Again, probably chasing more of AM golfers there. We'll also toss in Kevin Yu there just in case he gets the AM tee time. Now that's going to do it for this video. I do appreciate everyone commenting on the first video for the Open Championship, asking for this video. I did get a little bit later out a little bit later on in the week. Apologies for that. But as always, guys, if you enjoy this coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a bunch. If you guys are someone that does play fantasy golf a decent amount, or maybe someone that bets on PrizePicks or Underdog a lot, you guys can head on over to 9to5sports.com, which is obviously a membership site. That'll give you access to all the data that's associated with making, the best decisions each and every day for props betting or each week for the fantasy golf tournament that's going on that week. Now, that's going to do it for this video. Again, guys, like and subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate that. Good luck with all your bets, DFS lineups, and more importantly, your office pool picks. All right, thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.